What a wild housing market we have right now. Mortgage rates have increased to multi-decade highs, yet home prices continue to be supported by a low amount of existing houses for sale. However, though, will that change though because housing inventory is still rising right now, which is highly unusual for this time of year. In today's video, I'm going to give you guys an update regarding my own analysis of the latest data from Realtor.com regarding home prices, housing inventory, and also the share of price reductions and much, much more. So I don't want to waste your time. Let's begin today's video because I have a lot to share with you guys today. So here's the latest Realtor.com report regarding their latest trends for the week ended September 16th. Which I did not even read. Instead, go to realtor.com/research/data and click on that link right there, which more or less takes you to this right here. So I'm going to go over asking prices nationwide. And by the way, these are year-over-year changes nationwide. So asking prices, housing inventory, new listings, days on the market, or how fast or how slow houses are selling, and also the difference in the number of reduced price listings compared to 1 year ago. Let's first talk about home prices because the median list price only increased by 0.2% year over year. As you can see here, prices have been relatively flat for the past 1 month compared to 1 year. It appears that home prices have not decreased compared to 1 year ago for the past several weeks here due to really two main reasons. Number one, limited inventory levels of existing houses, which is different compared to new home construction. If you missed my video regarding that, take a look at that. I actually just posted that this morning, which would be a Wednesday morning, regarding the latest trends we're seeing right now regarding new home sales as well as inventory levels of brand new houses. Night and day difference here. We have limited inventory of existing houses. And on top of that, because prices were falling at a much faster clip at this time last year compared to this year. However, as I mentioned right there, will this change though, given the rapid rise in rates? As of today, which is Tuesday, average rates are at 7.50% for people with exceptional credit, according to the Mortgage News Daily, the highest rates going back to approximately December of 2000, excluding Monday's rate at around 7.51%. On the demand side, that is down due to high home prices and also elevated rates as well. But also the supply side is also down as well because rates are high as well. A lot of people do not want to give up their historically low rates and sell their houses and take on a 7.5% rate right now. All right, let's talk about housing inventory levels right now because last week, inventory levels decreased by 4.4% compared to 12 months ago, approximately 4% fewer homes for sale compared to 1 year ago. It's also down now for 13 consecutive weeks due to a low level of new listings. In other words, a lack of people listing their house for sale, which of course is decreasing supply levels right now. And also inventory levels are down compared to 1 year ago, also due to the fact that inventory was skyrocketing last year. In contrast, inventory is only up slightly year to date so far this year. And I have some really good stats to share how this year compares to last year. Some pretty big differences, actually even compared to last week. So speaking of inventory levels, let's have a look at altosresearch.com. 1 year ago, there was around 557,000 homes for sale, and now there's approximately 528,000, a decrease of around 29,000 fewer homes for sale compared to 12 months ago. And that's a difference of 5%, which by the way is pretty wild because in late February, the year-over-year change was a gain of 76%, approximately 76% more homes for sale this late February compared to February of 2022. Now it's actually down by 5%. Now here's where it gets really juicy here. So I hope you're still watching this video here because based on my analysis of data from altosresearch.com, we only have about 57,000 more homes for sale compared to the start this year. So year to date, we're up by 57,000. That's a gain of 10% year to date. Compare that to the same time frame last year. Last year, this time, we were up by 265,000 houses for sale. This year, only up by 57,000. That equates to a giant 91% increase year to date at this time last year versus only a 10% increase this year. So in other words, inventory levels were absolutely skyrocketing last year, increasing by 91% from the start of 2022 through the middle of September here, whereas this year, a small gain. Something to keep in mind though is that inventory has been increasing very slowly ever since April this year, mainly due to seasonality, where inventory tends to peak around August each and every year. But this year, inventory levels is still increasing, which is highly unusual. Also, something to keep in mind is that even though we have approximately 5% fewer homes for sale right now, we're still down by about 45% compared to the same week of 2019. Therefore, we're missing approximately 430,000 homes for sale compared to pre-COVID levels. So here's a look at inventory levels according to altosresearch.com. Right now, about 528,000. 1 year ago, 557,000. But 2 years ago in 2021, there was 432,000. 2020, 567,000. Comparing levels right now at 528,000 though, this is still about 45% less than 2019 as well as 2018. Here's something I've been reporting to you guys for quite some time though, because inventory levels really started surging once rates hit about 5% last year. And in hindsight, that's really a low rate compared to the rates we have today at around 7.5%. In any case, though, to start the year last year, we were at only 292,000. And by the time we hit this time last year, it increased to 557,000, a gain of 91%. This year, inventory levels were at 471,000 for the first week this year. Now they're at 528,000, a small gain of about 10%. What's unusual here, though, is that inventory levels are still increasing, kind of like the same trends we saw last year, because we didn't see inventory peak until we hit the end of October. So I'll say this again, because I would imagine that inventory levels is going to peak later this year than what is normal here because of the sharp pullback in demand, fewer contracts being signed, and of course, it's taking longer for houses to sell, which is increasing inventory levels. So it's not due to a surge of new listings. In fact, it's really due to a pullback in demand than anything. And speaking of a pullback in new listings here, this is absolutely crazy. New listings fell by 6% year over year. That marks the 63rd consecutive week of year-over-year decreases of new listings, dating all the way back until early July of 2022. This, of course, is causing the supply of existing houses to remain at historically low levels. Something new over the past month or so, though, is that we're only seeing single-digit decreases year over year for the past month. And that was after 16 consecutive weeks of double-digit decreases. In other words, new listings were falling much faster last year due to the sharp rise in rates we saw in 2022. Because of that, in about a month or so, the year-over-year change in the number of new listings could turn positive very, very soon. Let's also talk about how fast or how slow houses are selling nationwide here, because last week, as well as the week before that, it took about the same time to sell a house compared to the 12 months prior to that. Before the past 2 weeks, though, it actually took longer for a home to sell nationwide for 58 consecutive weeks. Again, though, this column here regarding days in the market is a lagging indicator based on a closed home sale. Therefore, it's based on a contract being signed about 1 to 2 months ago. Therefore, it's a lagging indication of our U.S. housing market. One thing to keep in mind, though, is that the difference between this year and last year, has been narrowing ever since more or less February this year. This is implying the market was slowing much faster last year compared to this year. Therefore, we could see homes selling faster than last year very, very soon. Let's also have a look at the number of reduced price listings, because last week it decreased by 21%. This is pretty wild because at the very beginning this year, we saw triple-digit increases year over year. Now it's actually down by 21% last week. That also marks the 16th consecutive week of decreases. In my personal opinion, this is actually negative ever since June due to limited inventory levels of existing houses. In other words, there's fewer options of houses to buy by home buyers, and therefore we're seeing the number of reduced price listings fall year over year. And that's number one. Number two, price drops skyrocketed last year. In contrast, the share of price drops is relatively flat year to date so far this year. And in fact, let's actually look at a chart from altosresearch.com. The share right now is about 37%, roughly on par with the very beginning this year, also at around 36 to 37%. But at 37%, this is lower compared to last year at 41%, but higher compared to 2021, 2020, but roughly on par with pre-COVID levels in 2019, as well as 2018. So big picture here, the share price drops is lower compared to last year, higher compared to 2020 and 2021, but roughly on par with pre-COVID levels in 18 as well as 2019. All right, I know that was a lot to cover in today's video, so here's a summary for you guys. And by the way, if you guys are still watching this video, I appreciate you, and please hit the like button. I greatly appreciate that. So I'll provide a summary, but also provide a brief kind of like predictions of what may lie ahead based on the data we have today, and also a summary regarding a lot of other reports I've been sharing with you guys for the past couple weeks now. So number one, asking prices in the US have been relatively flat over the past 1 month. Prices do not appear to have decreased year over year, primarily due to two main reasons, in my personal opinion. Limited inventory level of existing houses, and number two, because prices were falling at a much faster clip last year compared to this year. However, though, will that change very soon due to the rapid rise in rates? And of course, I'll definitely keep you posted. Number two, housing inventory decreased by 4% year over year last week. That marked the 13th consecutive week of year over year decreases. Inventory has also barely increased so far this year, up by about 57,000 more homes for sale compared to the start of this year. Compared to the giant increase we saw last year, an increase of 265,000 during the same time frame. Also, new listings have been decreasing for 63 consecutive weeks. This continued lack of new listings is causing inventory to remain at historically low levels, down by about 45% compared to the same week of 2019. And number three, average 30-year fixed mortgage rates have been hovering around 6.8 to 7.5% ever since late May this year. The average 30-year fix as of today is at 7.5%, very close to the highest levels going back to December of 2000. Off by about 0.1% or 0.01%. 1 year ago, the average rate for a 30-year fix for people with great credit was at 6.9%, according to the Mortgage News Daily. Number four, the share of price reductions is roughly the same as the same week of 2018 and 2019 as compared to last week. But it's much higher compared to 2020 as well as 2021. Number five, houses took the same time to sell last week and also the year prior to that. But before that, we saw 58 consecutive weeks of increases. In other words, it took longer to sell a house for about 58 consecutive weeks. Now it's taking about the same time frame right now. So what are some huge changes ahead? And a friendly disclaimer, I am not a real estate market fortune teller. I do not have any superpowers. Number one, the average 30-year fixed rate is about 1 percentage point higher today compared to 1 year ago. That causes approximately a 10% decrease of buyers' purchasing power. Of course, there's a lot of challenges that home buyers are facing right now. We have record low housing affordability, multi-decade lows, by the way, the lowest levels going back to the 1980s. And on top of that, we have low inventory levels of existing houses, elevated rates, as well as a potential of a recession next year. Big question mark on that. I think we all can agree we have a lot of uncertainty in our US economy, and of course, our housing market as well. Number two, housing affordability is a giant hurdle for home buyers right now, especially compared to the past few years. So rates have more than doubled, and also home prices have increased by about 31% compared to 2020. Mortgage rates in general have been on the rise ever since April, and on a national level, home sold prices have increased by about 8% year to date, according to my own analysis of Redfin's data. So we have this environment, we have rising rates, and we have elevated prices as well, which is making housing affordability even worse than it already is. I mean, how many times have I been talking about that? Affordability is at all-time record lows basically each and every week. Anyways, it's frustrating. In my personal opinion, this is not sustainable. We can't have multi-decade lows for housing affordability and have multi-decade highs for rates and not expect to have some sort of slowdown in our housing market in the short term. When that happens, it's anyone's guess because it really depends on the direction of rates and, of course, inventory levels as well. So right now we have seasonality and affordability constraints, which will put downward pressure on prices, which in my personal opinion is very much needed. How much that happens, when that will happen, again, it's anyone's guess. Number three, early signs of home buying demand have been absolutely all over the place because rates have been very much volatile this year. The most recent data we have showing applications for home loans. These are people applying for home loans to buy houses is down by about 26% year over year, according to the MBA's purchase index for the week ended September 15th. The MBA's purchase index is roughly on par with the lowest levels in about 28 years, roughly on par with the lowest levels going back all the way until 1995. Also, Redfin's most recent data shows that pending home sales, a measure of contracts being signed between buyers and sellers of the existing houses, fell by 14% year over year, and new listings also decreased by 8%. So we're seeing demand decrease, but also supply decreasing as well. Also, the National Association of Realtors reported on August 30th that pending home sales for the month of July regarding existing houses decreased by 14% from July of 2022. I will have August numbers from NAR in about, I think it's later this week. So by the end of this week, I should have an update regarding a measure of pending home sales for the month of August. And I mention that because new home sales, a measure of contracts being signed between builders and home buyers, surged by 32% this July compared to July of 2022. However, though, based on my video I just posted on the channel here, home sales or new home sales actually decreased by nearly 9% in August compared to August of last year. So as I note right here, I actually included this note that I added last week here. How long will this last given rates over 7%? When home sales of new home construction increased by 32%. And go figure, new home sales fell by 9% in August, just announced on September 26, which is today. So my big question here is, will these rate buy downs that builders have been offering home buyers may be becoming less effective because sales decrease in August compared to July. One thing I think we all can agree on is that the market is highly rate dependent. And of course, real estate is local. The trends I'm sharing in today's video may not pertain to your area. It may not even pertain to your region here. The stats I'm sharing in today's video is on a national level. Number 4, sellers and buyers have exited the market, leading to a dip of new listings, but also a dip of new contracts being signed for existing houses and new houses as well. The lack of new supply of existing houses since last summer has led to inventory remaining at very low levels. If homeowners continue to decide that now is not a good time to sell their houses, that will limit housing inventory. The direction of our US housing market, in my opinion, will depend on unemployment, rates, inventory, and of course, the balance between supply and demand. Number 5, this is the most important one. I appreciate you guys watching today's video, and of course, for supporting my YouTube channel over the years, if you guys have been following my channel for quite some time. So thank you so much for watching today's video. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next video. Hope you have an awesome day.